Your egg timer right up there under your HUD says 13 minutes, which I think
that means we're going to have an ohms burn here shortly.
That's my get to work time. It looks like it's 38 minutes to the burn.
Yep.
And so I didn't think there was a lot I could do. I got the flight deck camera mounted as far forward as I could to get a big view of the aft flight deck.
Atlantis, thanks for the live view from the flight deck. We are on board with you now.
Yeah, copy that. We're going to film the burn for you live.
The 10-second burn of the right orbital maneuvering system engine, clearly in view, the camera set up by the crew looking out the aft flight deck window.
Here we are a little later in flight day 2, and Effie and Tony are flying the arm over to pick up the boom. Effie is very adeptly.
He's very hippily
free flying out the window. You can see him looking so studious.
So,
he is.
And as he looks out the window, there is the arm that he is flying over to the boom.
One, two, and the mode switch, end effector mode switch.
Yep.
To off, please.
Beautiful.
Fifth.
Brakes. On, please.
Sort back on.
Changing the payload IDs to 1.
So we have one grappled boom.
Hey Houston, our pan and tilt numbers are kind of all over the place. If you like this, we're going to continue left and get you the next picture on the top of 7-12 Bravo.
This is Mission Control Houston. The discussion that's been ongoing is relative to the pan and tilt system on the orbiter boom sensor systems sensitive package on the tip of that boom.
Starting to pinch there. And there it's jammed. Nope, maybe not.
You know, it's deforming the cable.
Okay, yeah, it appears as it's starting to mush the cable around right there.
All right, let's try to pan tilt reset it. Meanwhile, down on the middeck,
I am wrestling with a bag of oxygen masks. Freshly built.
they got that fresh mask smell?
Yep. It said to put 6 of these things with all their foam in this chest and storage bag, and that's the best I could do.
Wow.
5 + 1 on a string.
Aboard Space Shuttle Atlantis up on the flight deck, Mission Specialist Piers Sellers there on the left. Mission Specialist Steve Bowen, one of the spacewalkers. You see his back to the camera on the right in this view, looking at the aft flight station. The Space Shuttle and the space station should be moving into an orbital sunrise as they approach the upper central coastline of Chile. The International Space Station, a still image taken from Space Shuttle Atlantis, the range 2,600 feet.
In Houston, Atlantis is initiating the RPM in 2, 1, mark. Start RPM.
The R-bar pitch maneuver underway under control and command of Shuttle Commander Ken Ham.
And station, start photos. Copy, stop bottom side.
Station crew given the go to start the photos. They're conducting the photography across the entire underside of Atlantis's thermal protection system.
Atlantis and station on the big loop. On behalf of both the shuttle and station flight control rooms, your go for docking.
Atlantis copies, go for docking. Thank you. confirmed.
Atlantis station, ISS free drift, double positive, yokoso and welcome to station.
Copy, station, free drift. Thanks, Soichi.
You're welcome, Cam. Great flying. Space Shuttle Atlantis arriving.
This is Mission Control Houston. The hatches between the two spacecraft now open. Commander Ken Ham, second visit to the International Space Station. He's the commander of STS-132. Next is Michael Good, his first visit to the International Space Station, his second mission in space. He flew aboard Atlantis a year ago this month as part of the Hubble Space Telescope servicing mission crew on STS-125. Garrett Reisman, an Expedition 1617 crew member, very familiar with the International Space Station. His second visit to the complex. Behind him, pilot Tony Antonelli. He flew as part of the STS-119 crew.
The robotics officer inside the space station flight control room is confirming that the integrated cargo carrier is now being lifted out of Atlantis' payload bay. The retention latches that held it down inside have been released. So the station's arm is now in control of lifting that out and flying it over to where it will shortly be installed on the mobile base structure.
Houston Station 1 for SSRMS. We show ourselves at the end of step 11.2.
We copy, Tracy. Thanks for all the great work. We'll take it from here. And as you know, if you do see the things moving outside, we will be continuing with robo-ops for the next quite a few hours.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for the great support, you guys.
Meanwhile, Garrett Reisman, Steve Bowen are currently inside the Quest airlock. They're wearing some oxygen masks at this point in time. This is all standard procedure for them to breathe some enriched oxygen for about 45 minutes. They will be able to close the hatch between Quest and the rest of the station coming up in about 15 minutes or so. And then once that is done, they will reduce the pressure inside Quest from 14.4, where it's at right now, down to 10.2 psi. And that is where it will stay overnight.
Houston Atlantis, air to ground 2 for CGB-8.
Atlantis, Houston, go ahead.
Big G, you have a go to open that and stow it. And if you would, just let me know when you get it open. Correct. I'm lifting it up now. Oh, it is daylight outside.
I wouldn't lie to you.
Whoa, that's cool. Okay, the hatch is open. Okay, and you got her stowed? Just a second. Yeah, take your time. Yeah, Big G, that's the bottom of South America. That's awesome. Nice sunny day out here. Looking good. About another 20.
Okay, copy. Another 20.
Garrett Reisman, you see there, he's guiding the station's robotic arm with a you'll hear periodically a GCA. That's basically a ground controlled approach. He's guiding verbally, as he can see the arm much better than Piers Sellers can, so he is going to be guiding it over closer to him so that he can climb into that foot restraint that he installed on the end of the arm.
Brakes on.
All right, I got clearance to the dish. Tony, I think I'm headed to ingress, right? Yeah, yep, all the way into ingress. Okay, copy.
Steve Bowen now holding the new space-to-ground antenna boom. He'll hold on to that while Garrett Reisman climbs into the foot restraint on the end of the station's robotic arm. After that, Bowen will hand off the boom to Garrett Reisman.
Okay, Piers, you ready?
Ready. And we're going to take you zenith first.
Piers, I can see the UHF antenna. We're well clear of it.
Okay, and the dish?
The dish we are well clear. No issues with the dish.
Yep.
Any settings? 0. I got 12. Yeah, 0 golf.
Garrett Reisman is in position on the end of the station's robotic arm, holding the spare boom for the space-to-ground antenna to be installed on the Z1 truss you see there in the upper center of the picture.
For a translation to the airlock toolbox. All right.
Continuing.
And stop motion.
Stop motion.
Garrett Reisman with the space-to-ground antenna dish firmly in hand, being maneuvered now back over to the installation point. This view from the perspective of Steve Bowen, the nose of Space Shuttle Atlantis,
The CWC eyes.
taking photos of his colleague Garrett Reisman off in the distance on the end of the station's robotic arm with the spare space-to-ground antenna dish being relocated to the Z1 truss element of the station, where it will be permanently housed as a redundant and secondary antenna.
On the OSTPB.
Hey, and Tony, just let you know, we just got KU back. Hey, if they're working here, when they get done and they get a moment, if they can have somebody just kind of show us the interface, why they kind of give it that little push and tug, just so to see what's going on, that'd be great.
Okay, you can see in Garrett's view there, he was seeing the largest gap, and you can see that interface right there. You can tell there's not much of anything there. You ready for me to, you guys, if you're watching, I'll wiggle it.
We're watching, Garrett.
Ready? Whoa. Oh, you got a huge gap. Yeah.
We did see that. Thanks. That helps.
I think we need to retorque them. Wow. No problem. So hold off on the heat shield. They should let us go to a higher torque after seeing that. Yeah. I didn't think it was on good. We still got a problem with this connector, though. All right, guys, I'll ask you this first and then give you a chance to speak up before we talk to Houston, but at some point we're just staring at this connector and not making much progress. How about you, Big G? You got any words before we hit the ground? It is a big advantage to having the two of us here to try to work together. I'd say we give one more big effort to get it on. And how long till sunrise? Just another minute. So if you want to cover up the... Yeah, I got it covered up. Yeah, that's going to keep that cold and keep it small? Yeah, right. Okay, we just got KU back. I think I got it. I think it's on my side. Hey, that's your side. Still off a bit. Off a bit. There it is. Yep, that's up it. Hey, it's on. Ta-da! All right. Okay, Swanee, what do you want for WBS? All right. Hey, good work, everybody. Thank you. That's a good job waiting for the sun team. Good plan. Thanks, buddy. All right, you ready for the interface rocking?
Garrett Reisman and Steve Bowen have now split their attention to two different tasks. Garrett Reisman will go work on the installation of this work site for the Dexter robot. Steve Bowen is still working on this spare space-to-ground antenna assembly. He's going to be removing what are called gimbal locks. These are basically just locks that are put into place to hold everything securely during Atlantis' launch, which of course brought up this piece of equipment.
Yes.
While Reisman and Bowen are working on this spacewalk, the robotics officer here inside Mission Control has confirmed that the shuttle's robotic arm has successfully grappled to MRM-1. This is some advanced activity in preparation for lifting that module out of Atlantis' payload bay and installing it on the Russian segment of the International Space Station.
Pull over release for 40 seconds. I'll take it off. Ready? Yep. On the 40. This is just releasing the locks to it. I got barber pole over barber pole.
It looks like it released. It actually moved.
And barber pole over release. Take the switch to off. Demate. That's just this one, and I should get released.
Verify which cable of the
I got no low hover, so go position on there. Still got no lights.
To plug into Reba, was it 1008 that I'm
16,
recharging?
there's the one that's weird.
Is it the same one that I had from previous?
Okay. And
All right, Tony, so what did you do this morning?
I got up this morning and got all cleaned up. Good shave. Then we pulled MRM-1 out of the payload bay, and you probably can see that better in the monitor. And in the bottom view is our camera looking at our payload bay at MRM-1, and then our top view is the station's big arm end effector, and you can see we lined it up so they can just go in and grapple. And Big G's over in the cupola, flying the big arm. He's going to grapple the module and plug it into the bottom of the space station.
And Big G on the big loop. The SRMS has MRM-1 at the handoff position with the brakes on. We go for grapple.
looks good.
This is a live action shot.
Live action.
You can't see. The angle's not too good, but this is Garrett.
Grappling MRM-1.
Grappling MRM-1.
You're at the MRM-1 clearance position with the brakes on. You go to maneuver to the MRM-1 pre-dock position.
Okay, copy all. We're going to put that in work.
And this is roughly a 20-minute maneuver that will reposition the Rassvet module at its pre-install position. The module has a number of components on the outside destined for future use at other locations on the International Space Station.
And Houston, ISS Robo. We looked like a pretty good docking. We never got contact one, straight down the middle, and got capture and contact.
The station's robotic arm is operated from inside the cupola. The view you see here is of Garrett Reisman and Piers Sellers, as they have been pretty much in charge of the station robotic arm operations throughout the day. The robotic workstation was relocated from the U.S. lab Destiny to the robotic workstation a couple of weeks ago.
All right, I can't believe we haven't put this in flight day highlights. This is definitely one of the highlights. This is, of course, the cupola. And we are, of course, the camera's going to get overexposed here. Flying over Baja. Let's look back here so I can show you something that you might recognize. Indy back on. And
Michael Good will be performing his first spacewalk of this mission. This will be his third EVA, and his colleague Steve Bowen, who joined Garrett Reisman on the first spacewalk 2 days ago, he'll be wearing a suit with a red stripe.
That looks good motion. Copy. Good motion. A little bit further. Keep coming. Another 6 inches or so. Keep coming a little tiny bit. Perfect. Stop. You can see the impingement point where my finger is. If you guys got that in the WGS. And the impingement is
the indentation went away for the most part once it was relieved, and then there's no pairing to the fabric covering.
And Steve Bowen has already unsnagged the cable. He's just going to tie wrap it to the other cable that you see there. This is a view from his helmet cam 30 minutes into the EVA.
And it's turning.
Michael Good now releasing one of the two bolts securing the battery to its carrier on the P6 truss.
Completely released.
Okay, and if you've got any words for Steve-O or Garrett about running torque and indicators as you do these, just shout them out. Next will be release H2.
Yeah, running torque was nothing on H1. And you see the indicator there, Steve-O?
Yep.
So we're here from lock just that far on H1. It's not very far. And I could feel it, jumping on the thread at the end when I was done, kind of clicking on it.
And Mike, if you could pull it to your right a little bit so I can get down the... Thank you.
Tony, I really didn't feel any soft oxygen. It was just floating.
Okay, I copy. We'll be interested to see if the pallet's the same or if it's firmer.
Bowen is now handing the first new battery. He'll hand that off to Michael Good, who will head back to the work site for installation.
My red is clear. At the battery, I am going to egress the APFR.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to have to pitch it away a little bit.
Can you push it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's put this out. I'm going to give you that, and then you can take both and
okay, I've got
pitch it back. You have the battery.
There we go. It's turning now.
Let's see it. Battery is moving in.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, getting ready for the torque here, 16, trying to get my rate. Okay, I've got the battery.
You have the battery? I'm just going to move over so you can get over to that handrail. So let me try and get in.
Michael Good now translating up to join Steve Bowen for the installation of the old battery number 3 into the empty slot B.
That is going in the hole.
I think it's in the light clear this time.
I'm a little bit left. Good alignment. I'm showing it. That's about as deep as I needed on H1 side.
Three brand new batteries now have been installed on the P6 truss. The crew has been given a go for the 4th battery today, so they are jumping ahead now that the new battery is installed. They are in the process now of removing the 4th old battery, battery number 4, from the P6 truss. Once they have that removed, they will install it on the pallet to be returned home aboard Atlantis, and then they will remove the 4th new battery from that pallet and install it in the empty slot.
The crew is still ahead of the timeline.
Okay,
Therefore, the ground team has offered up the option of taking care of this get-ahead task on this spare space-to-ground antenna. The entire objective of what they're trying to do is retighten these bolts, and they will do a wiggle or a shake test on the entire assembly to make sure it's not moving more than what is expected. If it does, they will simply try to retighten the bolts once more at a higher setting. But if it doesn't move more than what they expect, they will release the temporary tether that was put on there during the first spacewalk of the mission, and also release the launch locks that held the antenna down.
And Mike, you can do the wiggle test. I'll put my PTP away.
Okay, I'm getting down to the interface as well. And Tony, I'm doing a wiggle test. I'm not getting any motion.
I'm seeing absolutely nothing. Nothing like we had the other day, that's for sure.
Okay, great.
And I don't see any gaps.
Let me give Houston a chance to weigh in here. Houston, we saw no motion at the wiggle test, and we see no gaps. We're ready to pick up in step 19.
Great job. That does it. SCAN is on firmly. We are ready for step 19 and removing gimbal locks.
Hey, Huck. What you doing, man?
Hey, where you been all day? We just had a victorious EVA! And you've been off goofing off somewhere? Come on, man! Come on!
I was holding Pierce's coffee while he was working the car.
I see. Holding the coffee. Very nice.
Somebody's got to do that, man.
Yeah, no, look out the window. This is Bueno coming in the hatch.
All right, let's check it out.
After being the champion of champions.
Those guys kicked some serious butt today. Look at that. Look, he's in space, just inside this window.
I'll get him to look up.
All right, give him a look up.
Bueno, look up. Hey, come on. There
he is! The serious heroes today, both those guys. Unbelievable job. They did.
4 batteries, saved the SCAN, got everybody ahead so that our next EVA is going to be awesome. We're going to get everything done.
I know. It's unbelievable.
I am so stinking happy. All right. There they are. The awesome smell of space.
Yeah. For those of you watching at home, you might not realize this, but space has a smell. It's actually the smell of the stuff outside the station. It kind of smells like victory.
Come on up.
Oh, there it is. There's the smell. It smells like chicken. It kind of smells like ozone or kind of electrical smell. But we call it the smell of space. Guys, unbelievable EVA. What do you have to say?
Epic.
That was fun.
It was great.
Can you do it again sometime?
Unbelievable. Hanging out there at the end of the truss, watching the world go by.
You're gonna love it, Garrett.
Unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah, gorgeous.
Was it scary?
No.
I'm a little scared.
No, don't be scared.
You sure?
Dude, it was beautiful.
Because I was looking from inside the window, and it looked really far out there.
You, who was on top of the arm.
Well,
at one time.
I know, but I kept my eyes closed the whole time.
One time we flew over South America. I could see the Amazon for as long as I could see, 1,000 miles. How long is that thing?
A long way.
I could see it forever.
Wow.
Yeah, some beautiful sunrises and sunsets too.
It's those colors you get.
Yeah,
Transitions are
beautiful.
Hey, we got all international food here on the International Space Station. We got yakitori, we got Russian chicken with rice there. Bueno, what are you eating?
Macaroni по-флотски.
It's some kind of military food.
Beef vermicelli.
Chef Boyardee.
What are you eating there, Tony?
I think it's the same thing.
With some serious good sauce.
Genuine Russian food.
Nice. Good job. All right, who else wants to play with their food? Play your food.
I like the
that's good. That's good.
That's good.
Yeah. It's the Russian military food.
Started it. It's excellent.
Саш, не хочешь взять какой-нибудь пакет?
This is the way to eat on the top of the world.
Для того, чтобы поедать в банке. Не, я вот эту.
Yeah, Tracy.
It's a revolving restaurant.
Having pork chop.
Pork chop. Wait. We got like sea urchin sashimi. We have sudak. We have yakitori. We got all kinds of stuff. And you're eating what?
Pork chop.
Pork chop. This is Russian pasta with meat.
Flying out?
Pasta and meat.
Good stuff.
Can I put it back?
You got me.
Oh, it's too big.
For once, your mouth isn't big.
The station's robotic arm is now being repositioned with the integrated cargo carrier, basically the giant toolbox that Michael Good and Garrett Reisman will be working off of today. They'll be installing 2 new batteries that are still remaining on this carrier onto the station, and returning 3 batteries back to this carrier. It is planned to be put back in Atlantis' payload bay on Saturday for the return trip home.
And Brandon, looks like you got about a foot between the back of the battery and the pallet that comes in. Okay, I can see it. Okay, cool.
Halfway, 50 to go.
Copy. That's the dangerous age.
You're looking basically through the eyes of mission specialist Michael Good as he heads back to the P6 truss to assist with the installation of the new battery. This is the 5th of 6 batteries, the first of 2 to be swapped out today and installed on the P6 truss.
I can get that once you get the battery. Okay. Okay, I have the battery. Okay, you got her. Get my local here.
Three hours, 1 minute into the spacewalk, the task of removing and replacing 6 batteries on the P6 truss has been completed. That was at 8:28 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 9:28 Eastern Time. The P6 truss now has a full complement of 6 new batteries. Those will be brought online later on in the mission.
Okay, Tony, I have the ACFR from with 21 on my BRT with the red.
Okay, I'm going to have you go up to 5328 to get your fare lead, but while you're down there, if you could just take a look around. The only thing that should be left down there that you should see is Garrett's fare lead, which should be just inboard of you. Everything else should be cleaned up.
Okay. Come down the same way you did.
This is Garrett Reisman's camera here. As you can see, the thermal cover is open to the Quest airlock. He is inside. Mike Good just outside that hatch there. They are getting close to wrapping up today's spacewalk. Once again, this is the 3rd and final one for Atlantis' mission.
You good right there? Yeah. Getting the thermal cover? Yeah. Okay.
Before we undock from this International Space Station, I wanted to send this message to you so you could see Atlantis in service once again on behalf of the United States of America and all of the people that have built her and operated her for the last 25 years. This is her 32nd mission. She has traveled over 100 million miles and been in space nearly 300 days. And as you look out the window here, you can see the International Space Station in all her glory as Atlantis plays a part in the final days of completing her assembly. That's the PMA you can see out the window, which is the pressurized mating adapter. And then up above you can see the truss and the front part of Node 2. And you can see how enormous the International Space Station is. And you can appreciate the role that Atlantis had in constructing this incredible, incredible ship. All right, here we are in the cupola of the International Space Station. where we can get a great view at the whole bottom of Space Station, which of course includes a wonderful view of Atlantis. And there she is near sunset, another sunset of the day. Her payload bay is almost empty. There you see the ICC with the old solar array batteries, and then the empty side of the ICC where there was an S-GAN antenna, the EOTP, and the S-GAN antenna boom. And of course our primary mission objective, the MRM-1 module, is gone from the bay. And we can see it as you pan around the cupola to see there's the airlock going by and a solar array. And that module right there in the setting sun, brightly lit, is the MRM-1 module on Atlantis' last payload.
And this is time when we have to say goodbye our friends, our colleagues, the excellent crew of Shuttle Atlantis that did an excellent job performing 3 EVAs, installing the new Russian module, and just having the fun, enjoying the living on station and working in space. And they show the good example of friendship, professionalism, and classic attitude in their behavior. So it's really needed goodbye, but it's time to departure. So again, thank you Ken, thank you all crew, thank you for your excellent job, for your patience, for your work, for everything. We enjoyed working with you.
Well, like we are one happy shuttle crew, and we are happy because of all of your effort too. I think through our entire dock time frame here, we were a 12-person crew that operated together, and that was the only way that we got everything done and got MRM installed and got the EVAs done. So we are happy, but this one is to friends we're going to leave behind and new friends that we've made, close friends, my friend. We've had a great time together. And TJ will be home soon. Suichi will be home soon. It's all good. Alrighty. We're going to close the hatch shortly, and we're going to depart. And of course, as always, it'll be a little bit sad. But we'll see you all on the surface of planet Earth again soon.
Houston and station from Atlantis. Physical separation.
Houston copies.
Copy. Station copies.
Space Shuttle Atlantis departing.
Atlantis, station is now in attitude control. Mike, I gotta tell you, you guys are consummate professionals with a great sense of humor. We were so glad to see you. Loved working with you. See you soon, brother. Stay safe. Copy all, TJ, and same comments right back at you, brother.
The shuttle's now 506 feet away from the International Space Station. This fly around is continuing with STS-132 pilot Tony Antonelli at the controls. There you can see the Progress 37 that is currently docked with the Piers docking compartment. At the very back toward the lower center part of your screen, you can see the Soyuz TMA-17. And then there on the right is the brand new Rassvet module, which is now attached to Zarya. That, of course, came up with Atlantis during this mission, and the crew installed it as they were docked with the International Space Station. And there you can see the entire International Space Station complex there. If you look at the top, Atlantis currently casting a shadow on the solar arrays.
Here we are on the flight deck of Atlantis again with the entire STS-132 crew. We have undocked from International Space Station yesterday, spent the day inspecting Atlantis's thermal protection system, and we didn't see anything wrong at all, which is no surprise. And tomorrow we're going to pack up the ship to come home to Florida the next day. I'm going to hand the mic to Atlantis's pilot, Captain Select Tony Antonelli.
Thanks, Hawk. Atlantis is just a fabulous ship. She was a fabulous ship in the beginning and continues to be just absolutely amazing. If this ends up being Space Shuttle Atlantis' last flight, we've got an American flag here that we're honored to fly. This American flag flew on Atlantis' first flight, STS-51J, and I'll hand the mic over to Navy Captain Steve Bowen.
It's a real honor to be among the 191 crew members that have flown on Atlantis in her over 300 days in orbit, 120 million miles. Atlantis is actually named after a ship of research and discovery from a place I happen to study, Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, and she has definitely lived up to her name over the past 20 years or so. And on to Peter Sellers, who has done his own sets of research.
Atlantis is absolutely my favorite shuttle. I've only flown on two, but she's still my favorite. I hope that when she lands successfully, which I'm relying on these guys up front to do, that she goes somewhere and gets the respect she deserves as a ship of exploration. People like to visit ships like the Constellation, Constitution, see where they've been and what they've done, and Atlantis is one of that line.
I'm Garrett Reisman, mission specialist on this flight, and when I was selected as an astronaut back in 1998, there were 4 of us in our class that were living in the Southern California area, and we got together to visit Atlantis. We were invited to come up while she was in for overhaul in Palmdale. And when the 4 of us got together, one of the other astronauts was also Tracy Caldwell, who was just with us on the space station. So we were reminiscing about this just the other night. And we got together, saw Atlantis, and we all got so very excited about what we were about to do, becoming astronauts. And seeing the tender, loving care that she was given there in Palmdale by all the people that worked on her, it was hard to believe that here I would be some 10 years later flying on what could be her last flight. But she's been an amazing ship, and it's an honor to have served upon her. And here is Air Force Colonel Retired Mike Good.
Thanks, Garrett. I've been lucky enough to have 2 shuttle flights, both of them on Atlantis, so it's also my favorite space shuttle. Atlantis has been on 32 flights now. We're on number 32, and perhaps the final flight of Atlantis. She's been to many different destinations. I was lucky enough to go to both the Hubble Space Telescope and to the space station. She's also been to Mir and many other different places. So she's well traveled, and she's served many of us well, and we look forward to bringing her home safe and going to visit her someday on the ground. So from the entire crew, from STS-132, thanks to Atlantis and all the folks that have worked on her over the years.
We have already pulled the room and you are go for the deorbit burn. As you come into the cards for Tony, for the left ohms helium, we'll keep the alpha to closed. We won't be moving that switch.
Copy, we have a booty on that switch, and we will leave it in the closed position. And copy, go for the deorbit burn. Nice job.
The team here reporting that the deorbit burn is in progress. Both orbital maneuvering system engines are now firing. This will last for 3 minutes and 5 seconds. This will slow Atlantis down enough that it will drop out of orbit, and we'll begin the re-entry process. Space Shuttle Atlantis about to cross Lake Okeechobee there in Florida. The current speed 3,700 miles per hour. Altitude 125,000 feet. Range to touchdown 183 miles. Now just 9 more minutes in the flight of Atlantis. Space Shuttle Atlantis now in view of the cameras there at the Kennedy Space Center. Its speed 2,900 miles per hour. Its altitude 20 statute miles. Its range there from KSC 127 miles.
Our long-range camera has a tally-ho.
Copy. Yeah, flares.
Didn't work. Atlantis, you can take air data.
Copy, taking air data.
That call confirming that the two air data probes on the left and right of Atlantis's nose have been deployed and are receiving good data on the shuttle's position and speed. And data now being updated in the shuttle's guidance and navigation computers. Atlantis's current speed Mach 2.8. Its altitude 16 miles, range to the Kennedy Space Center 77 miles. Sonic booms now audible over Florida as Atlantis continues to head toward the Kennedy Space Center. Its current speed 1,300 miles per hour, its altitude 14 miles. Range to the Kennedy Space Center now 68 miles. Space Shuttle Atlantis now in its final moments of flight. 5.5 minutes to go till touchdown.
Atlantis, you are on energy, approaching the hack. No changes to winds or weather. You'll be nominal shoot deploy.
Copy, no changes, nominal shoot.
Good read back.
Atlantis' current speed Mach 1.6. Its altitude 12 miles. Range to the Kennedy Space Center 41 miles, continuing to bear down on runway 33. Atlantis now just 5 minutes away from touchdown. It is approaching what is known as the heading alignment cylinder. This is an imaginary circle that is created by the microwave landing system there at the Kennedy Space Center. It sits off the end of the runway and is about 7 miles wide. Commander Ken Ham will take control of the flight at that point in time and will steer the shuttle around that imaginary circle. This will allow the proper energy and the ground track and set up for the final approach and landing there at KSC. This is a view from the heads-up display. This is exactly what the crew is seeing at this point in time. Atlantis' current speed 653 miles per hour. Its altitude 9 miles. Its range to the Kennedy Space Center now 30 miles. Touchdown now just 4 minutes away. Pilot Tony Antonelli now taking control of the stick for a few minutes. Steering Atlantis around this heading alignment circle. This is a right overhead turn of 320 degrees. This will set up the shuttle for its final approach and landing there on runway 33. Now just 3 minutes to go. The shuttle's traveling 547 miles per hour. Its altitude 6 miles.
And Houston Atlantis, field in sight.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Now the commander, Ken Ham, now taking control of the shuttle.
You're on at the 180.
Copy, on at the 180. It's a beautiful day.
Absolutely.
2.5 more minutes to go in Atlantis' flight. There you see the Florida coast coming into view. The shuttle continuing to turn to the right and line up with runway 33 at the Kennedy Space Center. Commander Ken Ham continuing to finish up this heading alignment circle turn.
Atlantis, you are on at the 90.
Copy, on at the 90.
In just a few seconds, the shuttle's crew will get their first view of the Kennedy Space Center. Atlantis now traveling 400 miles per hour.
And Houston, now the left side of the cockpit has the runway in sight.
Copy that, on field in sight.
Once again, this is the heads-up display that Commander Ken Ham is taking a look at as he pilots Atlantis down toward this runway. Space Shuttle Atlantis now traveling 389 miles per hour. It is now on final approach to the Kennedy Space Center. During this point in the flight, the shuttle's descent rate is 20 times steeper than a commercial airliner. Its angle of attack more than 7 times steeper. Now under 1 minute to go in Atlantis' flight. Atlantis now beginning what is known as the pre-flare maneuver. It will pull the nose up a little bit right before it hits the runway. Its speed now 320 miles per hour. The gear is down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Atlantis' nose being now rotated down toward the runway. The chute being deployed. And nose gear touchdown. Space Shuttle Atlantis now comes home to the Kennedy Space Center for the final time. 25 years, 32 flights, and more than 120 million miles traveled. The legacy of Atlantis now in the history books.
Atlantis, we have wheel stop.
Copy, wheel stop, Atlantis. Hawk, that landing was something that your Air Force crewmates should have really been proud of. That looked pretty sweet. For you and your crew, that was a suiting in to an incredible mission. I'm sure the station crew members hated to see you leave, but we're glad to have you back. And you guys executed flawlessly. And not only that, you had a great time doing it, and that was very evident from the ground. And everybody down here really enjoyed working with you. With that, we'll get you back to work. We'll meet you in the post-landing, page 5-3. There are no deltas.
Okay, Scorch, thanks, and thanks to all you guys, too. We'll go over to 5-3, and we'll finish up post-landing and turn this incredible machine back over to the ground teams to put her back in the barn for a little bit.
Yeah, we concur.
And with those words from STS-132 Commander Ken Ham talking with the Capcom Charlie Hobaugh here inside Mission Control Houston, Atlantis has wrapped up a 32-year career, 32 missions, as well as this 132 flight. It traveled 4,879,978 miles on this STS-132 mission.
Convoy Commander, Atlantis, com check.
The crew will now get in touch with the convoy commander as they approach the vehicle there on runway 33 there at the Kennedy Space Center.
Convoy Commander, this is Atlantis, com check.
They will begin the process of safing the shuttle, and they will approach it and begin the process of also getting the crew out.
And Houston, just to keep you in the loop, we're not establishing comm with Convoy Commander. Yeah, NCC, you are loud and clear. Copy, thanks to be here.
Space Shuttle Atlantis is sitting there on the runway at the Kennedy Space Center after wrapping up this STS-132 mission.
When you're able, we'll take the RAD reconfig followed by ammonia activation on page 5-8.
This was his 32nd and final flight in his 25-year history. In just a few seconds, the convoy will approach the shuttle a little bit closer, and the crew on board will get ready to exit the vehicle here shortly.
Houston, APU hide shutdown's complete.
We see it, Tony. Tony, thanks.
This is Kennedy Space Center shuttle ground operations, 51 minutes, 42 seconds after the landing of Space Shuttle Atlantis. The cooling system has been hooked up to the aft of Atlantis, and the purge cooling began just about a little over a minute ago. All of the activities to save Atlantis have gone very smoothly. As we've heard, the crew is off. The hatch was opened at 9:15 Eastern Time, about 27 minutes after landing, and our first crew member was off about 6 minutes later at 9:21, and then the final crew member, our commander, was off at 9:29. This is KSC Shuttle Ground Operations, 1 hour, 10 minutes, 27 seconds after the landing of Atlantis. Full handover to Kennedy from Johnson Space Center Mission Control occurred about 3 minutes ago. The astronauts now are leaving the crew transport vehicle and beginning their walk-around activities. Appears that we have all 6 of our crew. Meeting our, that is Tony Antonelli, greeting our Center Director Bob Camana, and Steve Bowen. And Pierre Sellers and Garrett Reisman. And our Deputy Administrator, Lori Garver. Bob Camana shaking hands with Piers Sellers. And we have our commander, Huggy Pete Nikolenko is our assistant launch director for this flight. Mission Specialist Michael Good. Speaking with astronaut Mike Massimino. So our Center Director, Bob Cabana, talking with Deputy Administrator Lori Garver.
Folks, we're happy to be back here at the Cape. I think this is one of the few flights that, as pilot Tony Antonelli was saying earlier, you can take that PAO pamphlet that announces the launch date and the landing date and time and actually keep it, because we landed exactly on time, which is a credit to the forces here that got the ship ready and in the air on time. And then some great weather and some great support for landing got us back on time. Atlantis is an incredible ship. She was absolutely perfect through this entire mission, and probably our main objective, besides getting the mission done, was to bring her back in great shape and in one piece. So we're happy to be home, and we're going to go enjoy some time with our families. Thanks.
This guy in the white shirt here, I think has got the audio and the camera. Did he get it? He was looking at it.
And the crew now will pose for a photo and then head for the Astrovan, which is waiting nearby. And there they go down the runway, leaving runway 33.
He pilots Atlantis down toward this runway. Space Shuttle Atlantis now traveling 389 miles per hour. It is now on final approach to the Kennedy Space Center. During this point in the flight, the shuttle's descent rate is 20 times steeper than a commercial airliner. Its angle of attack more than 7 times steeper. Now under 1 minute to go in Atlantis' flight. Atlantis now beginning what is known as the pre-flare maneuver. It will pull the nose up a little bit right before it hits the runway. Its speed now 320 miles per hour. The gear is down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Atlantis' nose being now rotated down toward the runway. The chute being deployed. And nose gear touchdown. Space Shuttle Atlantis now comes home to the Kennedy Space Center for the final time. 25 years, 32 flights, and more than 120 million miles traveled. The legacy of Atlantis now in the history books. It is approaching what is known as the heading alignment cylinder. This is an imaginary circle that is created by the microwave landing system there at the Kennedy Space Center. It sits off the end of the runway and is about 7 miles wide. Commander Ken Ham will take control of the flight at that point in time and will steer the shuttle around that imaginary circle. This will allow the proper energy and the ground track and set up for the final approach and landing there at KSC. This is a view from the heads-up display. This is exactly what the crew is seeing at this point in time. Atlantis' current speed, 653 miles per hour. Its altitude, 9 miles. Its range to the Kennedy Space Center, now 30 miles. Touchdown now just 4 minutes away. Pilot Tony Antonelli now taking control of the stick for a few minutes, steering Atlantis around this heading alignment circle. This is a right overhead turn of 320 degrees. This will set up the shuttle for its final approach and landing there on runway 33. Now just 3 minutes to go. The shuttle's traveling 547 miles per hour. Its altitude 6 miles.
And Houston Atlantis, field and sight.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Now the commander, Ken Ham, now taking control of the shuttle.
You're on at the 180.
Copy, on at the 180. It's a beautiful day.
Absolutely.
2.5 more minutes to go in Atlantis' flight. There you see the Florida coast coming into view. The shuttle continuing to turn to the right and line up with runway 33 at the Kennedy Space Center. Commander Ken Ham continuing to finish up this heading alignment circle turn.
Atlantis, you are on at the 90.
Copy, on at the 90.
In just a few seconds, the shuttle's crew will get their first view of the Kennedy Space Center. Atlantis now traveling 400 miles per hour.
And Houston, now the left side of the cockpit has the runway in sight.
Copy that, Hawk. Field in sight.
Once again, this is the heads-up display that Commander Ken Ham is taking a look at as he pilots Atlantis down toward this runway. Space Shuttle Atlantis now traveling 389 miles per hour. It is now on final approach to the Kennedy Space Center. During this point in the flight, the shuttle's descent rate is 20 times steeper than a commercial airliner. Its angle of attack more than 7 times steeper. Now under 1 minute to go in Atlantis' flight. Atlantis now beginning what is known as the pre-flare maneuver. It will pull the nose up a little bit right before it hits the runway. Its speed now 320 miles per hour. The gear is down and locked. Its speed now 320 miles per hour. The gear is down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Atlantis' nose being now rotated down toward the runway. The chute being deployed. And nose gear touchdown. Space Shuttle Atlantis now comes home to the Kennedy Space Center for the final time. 25 years, 32 flights, and more than 120 million miles traveled. The legacy of Atlantis now in the history books.
Atlantis, we have wheel stop.
Copy, wheel stop, Atlantis. Hawk, that landing was something that your Air Force crewmate should have really been proud of. That looked pretty sweet.
Sonic booms now audible over Florida as Atlantis continues to head toward the Kennedy Space Center. Its current speed 1,300 miles per hour. Its altitude 14 miles. Range to the Kennedy Space Center now 68 miles. Space Shuttle Atlantis now in its final moments of flight. 5.5 minutes to go till touchdown.
Atlantis, you are on energy, approaching the hack. No changes to winds or weather. You'll be nominal shoot deploy.
Copy, no changes, nominal shoot.
Good read back.
Atlantis' current speed Mach 1.6. Its altitude 12 miles. Range to the Kennedy Space Center 41 miles, continuing to bear down on runway 33. Atlantis now just 5 minutes away from touchdown. It is approaching what is known as the heading alignment cylinder. This is an imaginary circle that is created by the microwave landing system there at the Kennedy Space Center. It sits off the end of the runway and is about 7 miles wide. Commander Ken Ham will take control of the flight at that point in time and will steer the shuttle around that imaginary circle. This will allow the proper energy and the ground track and setup for the final approach and landing there at KSC. This is a view from the heads-up display. This is exactly what the crew is seeing at this point in time. Atlantis' current speed 653 miles per hour. Its altitude 9 miles. Its range to the Kennedy Space Center now 30 miles. Touchdown now just 4 minutes away. Pilot Tony Antonelli now taking control of the stick for a few minutes, steering Atlantis around this heading alignment circle. This is a right overhead turn of 320 degrees. This will set up the shuttle for its final approach and landing there on runway 33. Now just 3 minutes to go. The shuttle's traveling 547 miles per hour. Its altitude 6 miles.
And Houston Atlantis, field in sight.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Now the commander, Ken Ham, now taking control of the shuttle.
You're on at the 180.
Copy, on at the 180. It's a beautiful day.
Absolutely.
2.5 more minutes to go in Atlantis' flight. There you see the Florida coast coming into view. The shuttle continuing to turn to the right and line up with runway 33 at the Kennedy Space Center. Commander Ken Ham continuing to finish up this heading alignment circle turn.
Atlantis, you are on at the 90.
Copy, on at the 90.
In just a few seconds, the shuttle's crew will get their first view at the Kennedy Space Center. Atlantis now traveling 400 miles per hour. Atlantis now beginning what is known as the pre-flare maneuver. It will pull the nose up a little bit right before it hits the runway. Its speed now 320 miles per hour. The gear is down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Atlantis' nose being now rotated down toward the runway. The chute being deployed. And nose gear touchdown. Space Shuttle Atlantis now comes home to the Kennedy Space Center for the final time. 25 years, 32 flights, and more than 120 million miles traveled. The legacy of Atlantis now in the history books. Atlantis now beginning what is known as the pre-flare maneuver. It will pull the nose up a little bit right before it hits the runway. Its speed now 320 miles per hour. The gear is down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Atlantis' nose being now rotated down toward the runway. The chute being deployed. And nose gear touchdown. Space Shuttle Atlantis now comes home to the Kennedy Space Center for the final time. 25 years, 32 flights, and more than 120 million miles traveled. The legacy of Atlantis now in the history books. Now the commander, Ken Ham, now taking control of the shuttle.
You're on at the 180.
Copy, on at the 180. It's a beautiful day.
Absolutely.
2.5 more minutes to go in Atlantis' flight. There you see the Florida coast coming into view. The shuttle continuing to turn to the right and line up with runway 33 at the Kennedy Space Center. Commander Ken Ham continuing to finish up this heading alignment circle turn.
Atlantis, you are on at the 90.
Copy, on at the 90.
In just a few seconds, the shuttle's crew will get their first view at the Kennedy Space Center. Atlantis now traveling 400 miles per hour.
And Houston, now the left side of the cockpit has the runway in sight.
Copy that, Hawk. Yield in sight.
Once again, this is the heads-up display that Commander Ken Ham is taking a look at as he pilots Atlantis down toward this runway. Space Shuttle Atlantis now traveling 389 miles per hour. It is now on final approach to the Kennedy Space Center. During this point in the flight, the shuttle's descent rate is 20 times steeper than a commercial airliner. Its angle of attack more than 7 times steeper. Now under 1 minute to go in Atlantis' flight. Atlantis now beginning what is known as the pre-flare maneuver. It will pull the nose up a little bit right before it hits the runway. Its speed now 320 miles per hour. The gear is down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Atlantis' nose being now rotated down toward the runway. The chute being deployed. And nose gear touchdown. Space Shuttle Atlantis now comes home to the Kennedy Space Center for the final time. 25 years, 32 flights, and more than 120 million miles traveled. The legacy of Atlantis now in the history books.
Atlantis, we have wheel stop.
Copy, wheel